Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 33 of Unlimited Opinions. I'm Adam Bishop. That was a terrible face you just made. I'm Adam Bishop.
I'm Mark Bishop.
We are, of course, reading Jake Jackson's Myths and Legends, a book about world mythologies from around the world. We are beginning our discussion on Scottish mythology, and we're recording in a different place than usual. We're down in our basement, in the hope that it would sound less tinny. I think it sounds more tinny, and I think I will have more background noise.
Yes.
But this will be an experiment. We'll see how it turns out after we stop recording here, and we'll see what ends up.
I thought it would deaden the sound more, but it doesn't.
No, not at all.
It's much more of an echo.
Yeah, well, it's a bigger room, and it's less stuff around.
Well, I mean, there's furniture in here, and there's a carpet right underneath us. I think it's because of the table you picked.
The plastic table that we have set up down here?
That's right. It's reverberating.
I don't think that's the case.
Reflecting the sound waves.
I don't know if that's true.
What do you think about Scottish myths?
Well, Jake Jackson starts off with a good introduction, I thought, kind of explaining, because usually the Scottish myths are just lumped in with the other Celtic myths. We covered Celtic myths earlier in this season.
I don't know why he didn't do it back-to-back.
Well, he did it alphabetically. Everything in here is alphabetical.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
I did not even notice that.
Yes, I can tell. But yeah, usually they're lumped in with the Celtic myths, which are kind of predominantly focused on the Irish mythology. Usually when people cover the Celtic mythology, it's purely Irish. The Scottish myths are slightly different in that they weren't so much written down, not nearly as much until sort of the end, I guess, of Scottish mythology. They're mostly just passed down, orally from person to person. Of course, each person would put their unique spin on it, and that's kind of the unique aspect of Scottish mythology, in that, every single retelling of the story is very different.
I thought he organized them randomly.
You're still hung up on that. No, it's alphabetical. He goes right. African, Celtic, Chinese,
You're
and then
absolutely right.
Yes. I can't believe you didn't notice that.
I did not. I was wondering, why are we doing this in this random order?
It's not random. It's alphabetical by region. Yes, but we can go ahead and jump right in, because this time we'll be covering the legends of witchcraft in Scottish mythology, starting off with the brownie. I'm going to read a little bit of description from the book here. In Scotland, there's a creature that's not a witch or a warlock, or even really a fairy. He's a brownie, and he's ugly, so he's not often seen by mortal eyes. For brownies are small creatures with great bulging eyes and faces that are furred like the backside of a donkey. Their teeth are like battered stones, and when they smile, they set fear in the hearts of all men. But a brownie is a helpful soul, and although they are not often wanted round about a house or a farm, they work a kind of magic, and help to clean and to tend the farm or run the mill for just the price of a bowl of cream and the odd bit of oatmeal. There once was a brownie who lived in an empty house on a farm in Westeros in Kintail, and near this house lived a young miller who lived with his mother. His mother was greedy and dabbled in magic, and wanted her son to marry a wealthy farmer's daughter, but the miller was already in love with a beautiful and hard-working girl named Katie. The miller insisted he was going to marry Katie, but his mother said that Katie was going to die. The miller married Katie in secret, and he convinced her to live in the abandoned house, for he was friendly and not easily scared of the brownie that lived there. When they met with the brownie, Katie sensed his good nature, and so they moved in, and the brownie was given a fine bed and fed all the best oatmeal and cream, and in exchange, he worked their mill and cleaned their house. After some time, Katie had become pregnant, and by this point the brownie was a good friend, and so it was he who went to fetch the miller when the baby was due. The miller was a traditional man, and felt that his mother's presence was necessary, and as soon as he came to her house, the brownie disappeared, for they knew the danger of a witch. The mother was friendly and calm, and so Katie couldn't help but trust her, as she braided Katie's hair, gave her a freshly stuffed pillows, gave her a tiny black kitten, and turned Katie's bed towards the door as she left the house. As soon as the witch left, Katie was overcome with pain and suffered for 2 days before the miller went for help from the howdy woman, the local midwife. Before the miller left, Katie insisted that he call for the brownie to bring the howdy woman so she would not be alone, and the brownie gladly set out on a horse with a great cloak covering his furry face. The howdy woman agreed to go to the miller's house, saying that she hoped that she wouldn't see the brownie there, and he replied that she would encounter nothing worse than what she was with right now.
That's a good line.
That is a good line. Thank you.
Actually, the way the book spells it out is, I think, better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's like holding on to him, and he says, you won't encounter anything worse than what you're cuddling with right now.
No, don't worry. I can assure you for certain that you will not see anything worse than what you're cuddling now.
Exactly.
Mm. That's what I tell your mother every night when we go to bed.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that.
How about that for a visual?
Yeah, it's lovely. Ugh. The Howdy Woman.
By the way, I hadn't interrupted you yet.
Yes, thank you. I was hoping you would.
And I'm disappointed that we're plowing right in to the first myth story.
Oh, really?
We didn't talk more about the introduction of Scottish myths.
Oh, did you want to talk more about that? We can take a break from the story, and you can go ahead. You did read it.
I felt like I did the work,
Mm-hmm.
and then you think did you ever hear the myths or the stories as if the Scottish people were originally from Egypt?
I did not hear that because that was like a theory that was proposed. I don't know how true it is, but
I assume it's not true at all. But those
some early
myths that they were banished people at the time of I guess of Exodus of the Israelites.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to what I guess was said about the Norse gods too, and that they were exiles from Troy. That's when they moved up to Norway. So it's interesting to see the ties there. I know he said one of the other theories, I guess, among early Scottish poets and that sort of thing, was that they could have also been from a tribe of Israelites who kind of got lost in that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's interesting.
I can appreciate more the Robin Hood movie starring Kevin, the guy from Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner, because his right-hand man is Morgan Freeman, a Moor. He plays a Moor.
Yes.
They were in prison together, I guess, in the Crusades or something, and then they came to Scotland, and I guess it makes, if any of this would be true, it would make it better for his being accepted in that society.
Yes.
They were all, at some point, descendants from
Egypt. Yeah, interesting.
It was a big hang-up for me when I first watched the movie.
Really?
Yeah. Really? Morgan Freeman? But
interesting.
It's a good movie. Ever seen it?
I have not seen it, no. Yeah. That's another one that we have to add to the list, I guess.
Or is it Mel Brooks did Robin Hood Men in Tights?
I don't know.
Yeah. Is it? No, that's not the one that has the Inquisition song. That's History of the World Part 1.
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
Inquisition. They ain't on that one?
I don't know.
Oh, it's a song and dance number set with like a torture chamber.
Oh,
for the
lovely.
Inquisition.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Anyway, back to the story. Unless you have anything else you'd like to add about the Inquisition.
Did you have any other thoughts about the history of the Scottish myths? I mean, you mentioned it's an oral tradition and all that stuff, and then I kind of dozed off there.
Yeah, I can tell. Fantastic.
All right. So where were we at the story?
Yes. So the Howdy Woman was coming to the house.
Why is it that her family name? I didn't understand that.
I don't know.
Or is
I
she
think it's
Haughty.
I don't know.
Is it Haughty?
It's
it was
like
Howdy.
Howdy.
Yeah.
Yes. Howdie.
Yeah.
I figured it's some sort of Scottish
something?
thing. I don't know. You can Google it while I'm reading the rest of the story.
Oh, okay.
If you want to, of course. It seems like you are. So the Howdy Woman had seen nothing like this, and she sat with Katie for 4 days before the miller realized that this was the work of his mother. And so he came to her, but she denied everything, simply stating that Katie was going to die. The miller then went to the brownie, who came up with a plan, for he could be invisible to the witch. The miller then went back to his mother, proclaiming that she had a beautiful grandson, and when he left, the brownie heard her wondering how he had discovered the witch's knots in Katie's hair, the black cat, the raven's feathers in the pillows, and that her feet were turned to the door. The brownie returned to Katie, straightening out her hair, burning the pillows, beheading and burning the cat, and turning her bed. And when this was done, the baby was safely delivered, and the roses returned to Katie's cheeks. Reading again from the book here.
Howdy is a Scottish midwife.
Oh, well, there you go. That makes sense. Reading again from the book here.
It also prompted me to learn about Howie Mandel. I thought I typed it in wrong.
Oh.
Do you know Howie Mandel?
I do know Howie Mandel. Reading again from the book here. But the brownie had gone, for brownies often do that, just disappear, never to be seen again. They missed the wee man's quiet presence and his charming ways, but he had milled enough grain for 20-odd years, and they lived on that house on the farm with their new baby in comfort and in good fortune. So that was the story of the brownie. What'd you think of that story?
I liked it. I thought it was a kind of a neat little story about this ugly but friendly. It's like Casper the Friendly Ghost or something, you know.
I guess so, yeah.
And but he's ugly. Casper's kind of cute, if a little off-putting.
Yes, true. It's definitely a don't judge a book by its cover type story. You know,
Yeah.
ugly little creature, but turns out to be very helpful, more helpful than really anybody else in this story.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, there's always a tradition. Or is it Irish or maybe Scottish? I assume it's Irish, of overbearing mothers and their sons. Mm-hmm. It's more of an Irish tradition, I don't know.
Perhaps.
But she was really horrible.
Yeah, she's a witch. Witches are like that.
Was she a witch before her son? I guess she was a witch. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah. Because he's like, no, I love this gal. And they would have been very, very happy. And they ended up being very, very happy. So she was absolutely wrong to try to, murder her daughter-in-law.
Yes, true.
And I guess it would have killed her grandson.
Yeah. Well, she was just greedy. She just wanted him to marry the other daughter of the wealthy farmer because she wanted money, I suppose.
Yeah, but still, yeah, I guess it's worse.
Yeah, she's not a good person, I think is the moral there. Don't trust a witch.
Yeah, just a witch. That's a good line.
Don't trust a witch. Yeah. That'll be the slogan from the next T-shirt of season 3. Don't trust a witch. It's fantastic. It's lovely.
Don't wear it to one of those anti-abortion rallies.
What does that even mean?
They're going to come after you like crazy.
I don't know what that means.
You don't think they're all witches?
I don't know if they would consider themselves
anti-abortion, pro-abortion. I'm sorry.
Yes,
I said it wrong.
Yes, I understood what you meant. Would they consider themselves witches?
Don't you think there's a lot of them that are witches?
Maybe. I suppose it could be.
Witches. I said that wrong.
Oh my god. I figured it was going somewhere close to that. That's fantastic.
Somewhere bad. I'm sorry. I think I'm a little under the weather.
Yeah.
I'm not on my game today. And you're very hostile.
Am I?
Yeah. It's oozing from you. You're upset about the location change.
Yeah, it's not a good location.
Upset that we're starting later.
Yeah.
And
well, it's an hour after we typically upload. So a little bit of background, I guess, for our listeners. We upload. Or we record usually like 2 hours before we upload, so we don't have a lot of prep time. But we're here an hour after the upload time.
I had the same amount of prep time. I just did it later in the evening.
you just didn't. Yeah.
Well, you're upset with me. I was busy.
No, I'm not upset with you. No, I'm not upset with you. No, not at all.
Spent all afternoon in my office.
Yes.
I guess we don't need to talk about that.
Yes, probably not. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts on the brownie story?
No, I mean, you're really angry or something.
I'm not angry. Right. I'm just telling the stories like I usually do.
I think you're a little curt.
Am I?
Yeah, a little tense. You lighten up.
All right.
Mythological boy. What did you think of the story?
I kind of said all my thoughts already. Definitely just a don't judge a book by its cover type story.
Well, that's all you got.
I mean, I like the concept of a brownie, sort of like an in-between type creature, because it's not a human, but it's really not a fairy either. It's just this little, I guess, kind of close to a goblin, I guess, sort of in its description. But it's very helpful. I like that.
It's a lot like Dobby. Dobby loves
Dobby.
Dobby.
Yes. Dobby.
Dobby loves Harry Potter.
Yes.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yes, and
very similar. What are those things called?
House elf.
Yeah,
I was going to kind of
house elf. That's what it is.
Pretty much. I was going to say something similar. There's a lot of stories I think we're going to get into in the Scottish myths of just little helpful creatures that are either fairies or these brownies here, but definitely like a common trend of these little beings that help out around the house. We saw a little bit of that with the Norse myths too, with the dwarves and then little bits of the fairies. Just a slight little section on that, but definitely a common trend in these stories.
Kind, I guess, yeah. But by the way, that is a dope Dobby.
Dobby, yes.
Dobby was the only really, truly heroic figure within the whole Harry Potter universe.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Why's that?
They didn't have any flaws. Although he's annoying.
Well, I guess that's true.
I mean, he was a selfless creature the entire time.
That is true. He did kind of mess everything up for Harry. Was that the second movie? Or the second book? I can't remember which one it is. But yeah, it is the second one because it's the Chamber of Secrets. Because he's like trying to get Harry to not go to Hogwarts, and so he ruins everything at the Dursleys' house and that sort of thing, dropping the cake on the lady and
that's
doing
true,
all the nonsense.
But
it was good intentioned because he knew that there was this terrible prophecy and Harry might die.
Right.
Yeah, that is true.
Right. Could have saved Harry a lot of trouble.
That is true. That is a fact. Moving on to the next story.
You know that
or not.
Harry Potter is so much better than that Hobbit thing.
Thank you for that. That's a lovely little input there. Anyway.
The three knots?
Oh, no. Yes, moving on to the three knots.
This was a brief one.
I like this story, though. There once was a family.
Why'd you like it?
Well, we'll get into that.
No, why don't you tell us first? Give us a foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing. It's just an interesting story. I like the concept of the magic used here. Relates to other stories here.
In what way?
Well, we'll get into it. We haven't read the story yet.
All right. That's a teaser.
Yeah, there we go. There once was a family of the island of Heisker in Ulst who sailed to Lewis for a trip. And as the man of the family talked to a friend, a tall, lithe woman with raven black hair entered the room to speak to the woman of the house. The man asked who that ugly thing was, to which the woman replied that he would be in love with her before he left Lewis. For a week, the man's thoughts were increasingly focused on the black-haired woman, and his wife soon realized that they needed to leave.
I bet.
Yeah. The family attempted to board a boat, but a terrible gale sprung up. When they returned the next morning, mists covered the port. So they were approached by a witch, who said that she would ensure fine weather tomorrow for a pound of snuff, which the family immediately gave her. Later that night, the witch gave the skipper of the boat 3 knots, telling him to untie the first 2 if he needed more wind, but to never untie the third under any circumstances. The next day, the man of the family had the skipper untie both knots, for he was eager to get home, and sure enough, the winds picked up and carried the boat faster. Wanting to test the witch's magic, he ordered the third knot to be untied as well. I'm going to read once more from the book. What happened then is a story for the ears of the fearless only, for from the sea rose a sight that clamped shut the mouths of men, and the wife and the children until their dying day. It was a shape, tall and lithe, with a face of sorts, from which shone cold dark eyes. And a hand was reached down, and the man of the family plucked from amongst them, and into the sea. And the boat itself was lifted high above the waves, placed on the sands of Heisker, from where she'd never move again. She's there still, a warning to all who think that magic can be tested, and the land there has come to be called Port Island Nakulai, or Port of the Island of the Boat. So what do you think of this story? Because I really, really like this one.
It was the first reference to snuff.
Yeah, you are correct about that.
Which I always wonder what that was. It's just a fine powdered tobacco.
Yeah.
You knew that.
Yes, I did know that.
You know, I was mentioning the other day I should take up smoking.
No, that's not a good idea.
Maybe I'll just do snuff. Do you think they
Awesome.
sell that stuff?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think they have it at Quick Trip.
Probably not.
I'm going to ask for it. Do you have any snuff?
They will look at you like you're a crazy person.
Or are they going to say, yeah, right over here?
Oh, that's true.
It'll be behind the counter for sure.
I guess so. Don't take up smoking. That's not a good idea.
Well, if I ever get a terminal illness diagnosis, I'm going to start smoking like a chimney.
Why? What would that help?
It couldn't hurt. You're already dying.
I mean, it's, well, okay.
You know, why not?
I mean, it's not good for you.
It'd be neutral.
I guess, I don't know. I guess not. But yeah, I like the story. It's
yeah, what was the magic thing that you liked about it?
Well, I like the concept of the knots. Very similar to, I think it was in the Odyssey, where he's gifted the bag holding the 4 winds, and he's not to open it too much, and then he does, and causes shipwreck and stuff. I also like the image of this gigantic woman, like just emerging from the sea. The very what's the guy with the Call of Cthulhu? Lovecraft. Very Lovecraftian, with just a giant monster emerging from the sea. Have you ever read any Lovecraft?
No,
No?
I have not.
You've never read any H.P. Lovecraft?
Lovecraft?
Yeah. You've never heard of him?
No, I've
You have never heard of H.P. Lovecraft?
No.
He is only one of the most popular authors of the 20th century.
What did he write?
All of the Cthulhu stuff. You know, the big giant evil squid monster in the ocean, and there's terrible beasts. He's like a horror author. He's really, really well known. It's surprising that you've never heard the name.
I've never even heard the name. I've never read the book.
That is insane.
Unless I knew them at one point and I've forgotten.
That is actually crazy.
But the Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, yeah. Have you heard of Cthulhu?
I thought it was a character in Star Trek.
Nope. Nope.
That's Hulu. No.
Zulu.
No.
Captain Zulu?
No.
Isn't that a character?
Uhura.
Who is that?
Uhuru. Lieutenant? She's a communications guy for the original Star Trek.
Isn't there a Zulu?
There's a Zulu?
Am I wrong?
Zulu's a tribe in Africa.
No, is it?
Sulu.
I was just. You couldn't tell what I was saying because I had a Z instead of an S. You're like
different thing. You said Zulu. That's an African tribe. And wasn't that a good movie? There was like about the British war, like the war, or the I think it might be called Zulu, where the colonialists.
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
It was like a 1960s era movie.
Oh, I've never seen it.
Zulu, I thought so. Where the British were fighting off the African warriors and stuff. I think the Africans won, maybe.
Oh, I don't think I've seen it.
I haven't seen it.
But that's Sulu, not Zulu.
Yes.
But you couldn't tell what I was saying when I was saying Zulu.
Sulu.
Zulu, yes. Okay.
Is he the guy with a real deep voice that's a super leftist on Twitter now?
I have no idea.
There's Chekhov.
Uh-huh. He was
Sulu,
one of the computer guys, right? He was always sitting at a desk. Sulu.
Yeah, he's like the navigator.
Yeah.
Yeah. The two guys in the front. There's Chekhov and Sulu.
Yes.
Sulu.
Yes. So you knew who I was talking about.
Actually, I didn't.
Well, that just says something about you because you couldn't figure out Sulu from Zulu.
My apologies. I believe he's one of them. They're homosexuals in real life.
Thanks for the information, I guess. Oh, boy. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Back in the 60s, they, I guess he was in the closet.
Probably.
That's what you call it.
Do you have any other thoughts on the three knots?
Yeah, he did. I guess they just couldn't help himself.
Yeah.
And he untied the third. I gotta see what's gonna happen.
Can't test magic. You just
when
gotta
the witch tells you, "Hey, I'll help you out. Do this and do that, but don't ever do the other thing."
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the same attitude towards the black-haired lady.
Mm-hmm.
He just had to have it.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the lesson.
True.
Restrain yourself from making stupid decisions.
Yeah.
And his wife is like, "We gotta get the hell out of here."
Yeah.
Keep staring at that black-haired woman. Isn't she lithe?
She's lithe. She's tall and lithe.
Isn't it like skinny muscular?
I think so. Yeah. 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 Definitely not a woman you want to mess around with, especially when she emerges from the ocean as a gigantic monster. Probably.
Yeah, but up until that, she
was fine. Yeah, she wasn't doing anything too bad. She was just kind of there.
She kept to herself. She just happened to show up.
Yeah, she just whispered one thing to this lady, and then the dude calls her ugly, and it's downhill from there.
Yeah. That's another thing. Don't call a woman ugly.
Yeah. Especially not in her presence. Well, I guess she had left the room. But don't call a woman ugly to her friend. That would not be a good idea.
I don't think you should call women ugly anymore.
That's true.
Yeah.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next story. The daughter of Duart. There once was a man named Maclean of Duart who sent his daughter away to become a scholar, and it was several years before she returned. Maclean would often sit in her room and look at her books, for he could not read, and when she returned to his land, he ran to her, asking what she had learned. His daughter looked out to sea, proclaiming that she could bring a ship on the horizon to the shore. He asked her to demonstrate, and she did so, and the ship began turning towards shore, but it was not slowing down as it approached the rocks. Maclean softly asked his daughter to save them. However, his daughter shrugged and said with a smile that she didn't know how to do that, and the ship crashed upon the rocks. Maclean then declared that if that is what she had learned, then he'd prefer her room to her company. Then striding home, building a great fire, and chopping up his daughter into bits and tossing them into the fire. Reading again from the book. And as he went to her room and gathered together her books and her pictures and threw them on the fire. Then he took her soft cover from her bed and put that on too, so there was no trace of the girl who was his daughter. For Maclean of Duart thought so highly of his daughter that he could not allow her to practice the education she'd gathered, for he would have nothing to do with black magic, and she had mastered the art. What'd you think of this one? This feels anti-education for women, is the vibe that I got here.
Yeah, I didn't quite catch that because it's so specifically black magic, and he was happy to send her off, happy to have her come back, and he's like, "Hey, what'd you learn?" "Oh, I learned, well, I can bring that ship to shore."
But it feels like a warning tale that like other fathers would tell to each other, like in the bar, like, well, Maclean sent his daughter off to study, and she came back and crashed a ship on the rocks. So yeah, that's what it feels like to me.
But her education seemed to be a little incomplete.
Maybe. Well, she'd only learned black magic. White magic would help her save them.
Oh, is that what the point?
Yeah, that's yeah. Because that's a big difference in like magic, especially in the Celtic myths.
What's the reference I'm thinking of? Is it pop culture, maybe a movie reference, or somebody says, "Well, I didn't learn that yet."
I have no idea.
That's good. It's driving me crazy tonight.
I don't know.
because she learned how to bring it, crash it to shore, but she didn't learn how to turn it away.
Yeah.
And so I didn't learn that yet. And she just kind of shrugs it off.
Yeah.
All these people are dying.
Well, she smiles too. I think
Yeah.
is the most incriminating thing is that she's smiling as this boat is crashing to shore, killing all these people.
And it seemed a rather extreme reaction on his part.
Yeah.
And that his professed love for her and respect for her was so important to
Well, I
cut her
guess
up in pieces and burn her.
I guess the idea is because like that closing line there is that he loved her so much that he knew how harmful it would be for her to be practicing black magic. And so, I mean, in a warped sense, he's saving her because, you know, it'd be worse to live and practice black magic than it would be to die and end the practice of black magic, I guess, is sort of the
Maybe it's
the
a story that you tell your daughter when she goes away to school.
Maybe.
Wow. That's like thunder.
That was a chair moving upstairs.
Yeah, you gave me an angry look because you don't like where we moved down here. And now that we're going, though, I think it sounds better.
Maybe. I don't know.
You seem to be echoing more than me.
Perhaps.
But I'm hearing myself. So maybe I'm just not hearing the echo.
Maybe. Well, you can let us know, to the listeners out there. You can let us know how we sound. Tweet at us. Let us know how this audio is at ULMTD Opinions on Twitter. It's ULMTD Opinions. Do you have any other thoughts about the daughter of Duarte?
No, it's pretty brutal, man.
Pretty brutal. Yeah. Rough way to go.
What's the next one? The Cauldron?
The Cauldron.
That's the last one. It's a brief chapter.
Yes, this is the last story in this section. A woman named Myrearad once lived on the now desolate island of Sandre. She had a large black cauldron, and she was visited one day by a woman of peace, an old gentle fairy who asked to borrow the cauldron. Myrearad, I cannot pronounce this name. How do you think this name is pronounced? Myrearad? Probably. Myrearad agreed to this, saying to the woman of peace as she left, "A smith is able to make, cold iron hot with a coal, the dew of the kettle is bones, and to bring it back again whole." And so it was that the cauldron was returned that evening, left quietly on the cottage doorstep, filled with juicy bones. This went on for years, with the two becoming good friends, and Myrearad always repeating the poem as the fairy took the cauldron. One day Myrearad had to leave to Castle Bay, instructing her husband to do what she always did. Later that day, her husband saw the wizened old fairy and was filled with fear, slamming the cottage door on her and refusing to open it. A howl then echoed outside the door, and there was a scrambling on the roof, and the fairy scurried down the chimney and carried the cauldron away. When Myrearad returned, she was surprised to see the cauldron still gone, and her husband confessed what he had done. Myrearad set out to retrieve the cauldron, and she reached the threshold of the land of light, seeing the cauldron filled with tender bones. She grabbed it, exciting the attention of a group of black fairy dogs who slept near an old man, and they jumped at her as the man cried out, "Silent woman, dumb woman, who has come to us from the land of the dead. Since you have not blessed the Bruch, unleash black and let go fierce." The dogs were unleashed, and so Myrearad dropped the bones to buy herself some time, and she finally reached the cottage safely. The woman of peace never returned, and Myrearad and her husband never again troubled the fairy folk. Reading again from the book. They are long dead now, buried on the grassy verge of the island of Sandre, where the sheep graze calmly on the succulent green grass, freshened by the moist salt air, kept company by the fairy folk who live in a verdant knoll. So another pretty brutal one here, where, it ends up with the two eventually dying because they broke this promise and they broke this sort of pattern with this fairy. So kind of another example of the sort of nature of, how you should respect fairies and stuff. Because that was a big deal in a lot of the Celtic mythologies. You don't go into fairy circles, you don't go into the unknown and that sort of thing, 'cause that's like inviting a fairy to come and torment you, essentially.
Well, isn't it also a story of cowardice of the guy?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he likes this, because he's specifically told, he knows what goes on, and then he just does not do it, and he runs away from this little fairy, and then she scurries on the roof and climbs down his chimney and steals the cauldron, which is kind of freaky. That's a little bit freaky.
Right. Maybe it's just a lesson, never mess around with any fairies.
You're real proud of yourself for that one, aren't you?
Well, I probably shouldn't say this.
Yeah, I don't know where this is going, but it's nowhere good.
Yeah, I better not say that.
That's probably for the best. Oh, my God.
Do you want me to mention it, like, off and then maybe you can let me know.
That could be at the end. That could be in the end.
What do you mean at the end?
That could. I'll bring it back up after the outro music. We'll see what happens.
Okay, so maybe
it'll be cut out. But
okay, well, I'm gonna leave it up to you.
Okay.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying I'll bring it up at the end. Don't tell me now.
Okay, I won't tell you now.
Okay. Yeah, this was an interesting one. Also, these were stories of witchcraft. I didn't see the witch in this one.
Well,
unless I guess Mariarad was the witch.
Yeah.
Was she a witch?
I don't know.
I guess she used the cauldron for something.
Well, they put bones in it and stuff.
That's true.
I was kind of confused by that.
I think they ate the bones.
Yeah. Really?
Well, that's the thing that people did. They'd suck the marrow out of bones. You don't waste any part of the animal. So that's what we saw with the Norse myths, with Thor's goats, and then the peasant broke open one of the bones and ate the marrow inside, and then one of Thor's goats walked with a limp, and he knew what had happened, and he punished the dude by taking his 2 children with him to the land of giants.
My dad, years and years ago, decided to make some stew, and he had this theory that you put these bones in there and the marrow, and get better protein and stuff in it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what he did, but it left like 1.5 inches of like gelatin. He said, "Oh man, I shouldn't have put so much bones in there." It was. He says, "I think I can just scrape it off. I think it'll still be all right." Oh, it was so bad.
Just like a soup jello.
Oh, it was.
Oh,
it was like a greasy gelatin.
Well, that was a thing for a while. Like a big thing in cuisine was to make like savory jello dishes. You know what I'm talking about? Where they'd have like the gelatin and like olives and like meat in it.
Yeah, but
it's like a big like jello.
Yeah, but this isn't like a jello gelatin. This is just like fat and I don't know what else.
Oh,
my mom used to have a recipe, and my sister still has it. It's like you mix jello and cream cheese, and it's really good.
Really?
Because it has a consistency that's like a mixture between jello and cream cheese. So it's like thinner than cream cheese, but thicker than jello, and it's got fruity cream cheese flavor.
Interesting. I know like mixing jello with like whipped cream. That's good.
That's really good too.
But I've never heard cream cheese. Interesting.
Yeah, beat it up and it's good stuff. Let it set. I'll have to get that recipe.
Yeah. But going back to the story.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I thought of the witch connection. Anyone who like deals with fairies, probably seen as a witch. I'm going to be...
There's some joke in there, and I think it's off...
That's not even...
I think the rainbow people do not approve of what you just said.
That's not even what I was going for there. I just meant...
the fairies, and you're talking about the witches.
I just meant literally in, these cultures... if you're seen to be interacting with fairies, you're probably perceived as a witch and not a very good person. You're pulling an innuendo or something here, and it is not a good one.
I think the ancient Scots are ahead of their time.
Oh my God.
They're enjoyable little stories, little vignettes, although they're high stakes.
Yeah.
You make a mistake in one of these stories, somebody's going to get butchered or run aground in the ship, and then your daughter gets butchered. I mean, it's pretty
There's
tough.
definitely a running concept. We kind of talked about this with the Celtic myths, but the idea of like the unknown and how you should deal with it. That comes up with magic and with fairies and with the brownie and that sort of thing.
Yeah, don't do it.
And that don't do it, or if you do it, treat it with a lot of respect. Because if you don't treat these things with respect, then you're going to get screwed over and plucked from your boat by a giant monster from the water.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think we are. Yes, that's correct. Right.
Yeah, what were you thinking about?
I was gonna say the obvious, which is where would the monster come from if not the water? If you're in a boat, because you said you're gonna pluck from the you're in a boat, pluck from the water.
Well, I guess you could come from the air.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, you didn't think about that one.
I did not.
Yeah, there you go.
Because you'd see it coming.
Yeah.
I guess you see the monster from the water too.
That is true. Thank you for those thoughts, I guess. I don't know what to do with that.
A little slow moving today.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of Scottish mythology. I think there's 5 more sections after this. We might combine a couple of them because they're pretty short chapters. So we'll probably have 3 more episodes of this season. Then we'll be moving on to next season.
And we will. The next season will be devoted to whatever book anybody tweets at us.
Maybe, yeah. You could tweet at us. Let us know. We've thrown out a couple ideas earlier today. Cicero. Would be interesting to read. Also, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, I think we mentioned. What else did we talk about? Churchill was thrown out there, something written by Churchill, but something along those lines, something that we can relate to philosophy. Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. But I'm not entirely sold on that one.
I'm not either. It's a little bit specific.
Yeah, it's pretty specific.
There's some political philosophy overtones.
Yeah.
Or, I mentioned Machiavelli, The Prince. And I've never read that.
Neither have I.
And I've never gotten through Rules for Radicals. I started to read it.
So we're kind of looking for something general, something that we can apply to a lot of things, some sort of philosophy or just some sort of social commentary type book.
Almost like a survey.
Yeah.
Of a general...
Yeah, because we don't want to get too bogged down in, like, we're just reading all of Cicero's letters because that would be tedious. Yeah. But yeah, let us know if you have any ideas out there. You can tweet at us at ULMTD Opinions on Twitter.
Unlimited opinions.
Unlimited opinions, yes.
Yeah.
All right, do you have any other thoughts on this first round of Scottish mythology?
Oh, no, like good little stories. What do you think? You like them?
Yeah, I like them.
I'm looking forward to the rest of the Scottish myths. And now that I know, I was wondering why it was so separated from the Celtic, but
yeah, because it's this is the last section in this book.
I finally figured it out. Actually, I didn't.
You didn't. I had to tell you.
Maybe I noticed earlier, but I guess it didn't.
Maybe so. A lot of thought. Yeah, next season is coming up pretty soon.
Very soon.
So stay tuned. I've been Adam Bishop.
I'm still Mark Bishop.
This has been Unlimited Opinions.
Yeah.
So what were you gonna say earlier about the fairies and the witches or something?
I don't know if I shared the story with you. I might have. The one and only time I've been in a gay bar. Did I tell you about that?
No.
Yeah.
I did not think you would ever go in a gay bar.
When we passed by, we were at Soulard yesterday. We passed. There's a couple of gay bars down there, from what I understand. There's one of them. I think. Actually, I probably should Google it because I don't want to, say something. But I think the Bastille is a gay bar. But that wasn't. Maybe you should look it up.
I'm gonna fact check that.
But there were a lot of dudes out there when we drove by. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But
like the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah. So a buddy of mine, we're in our early 20s, and we said, "Well, let's go to Soulard."
It is a gay bar. You're correct.
Okay, good. Anyway, so we're in our early 20s, and we hadn't really been to Soulard. We hadn't been around. We're from St. Charles, and so we said, let's go to Soulard. So we went to Soulard. I think it might have even been early Mardi Gras days or something before it became a big festival. And so we're going from bar to bar. So we go to this one bar, and we walk in, a neat place, had the music going. But it's, it's in Soulard, for our listener who may not have been down there, they're little like neighborhood bars. So they're smaller. It's not like a club or anything like that. We walk in. This was before I was maybe right around. Well, it would have been right around when I met your mother. But anyway, so we walk in. We kind of look at each other like, man, this is nothing but dudes in here. And it's kind of odd to walk into a room, to a bar, and it's like all dudes. There was no women. And Tim says, let's go. So we were in there. We didn't even get a drink. We turned around and walk out, and we both went like, what? And then we look up, and because we didn't even know what the name of the bar was. I think it was called Clementine's. I don't know if that still exists. And they had a big banner out front, and it said high heel drag race today at noon. and I thought. And we said, "Oh, that's why it was just guys." So we're talking about hanging out, and I don't mean to use the F word to describe homosexual men, but that's what it made me think of, because it used to call.
Oh yes,
gay
I
guys
was
fannies.
confused about.
It was a derogatory term. I don't mean to.
I thought you were talking about another F word, and like
No.
When did that come up? Yeah.
No, like
Yes, yes,
because
I'm aware.
There were a bunch of names that
Yes.
I mean, I wasn't calling anybody that.
Yes, you just happened to
I happened
wander
to think
into
of them when the word was mentioned. So that's why I hesitate. I thought, you know what? If I even tell this story, it means I'm making the connection between the insulting descriptive term and that portion of the community.
Yeah.
Which probably we should just edit that out. I don't know.
I think I'll leave it in. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. I was prepared for much worse.
No. Like I said, not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah,
but it was a different time. It was a different, really a different society, as it relates to that. Funny enough, two of my good friends, and of course I'm completely clueless when it comes to these kind of things. Two of my good friends in high school were gay.
Oh,
I had no idea.
interesting.
Now, one of them was, people would ask me, "Hey, is he?" Like, no, that's just the way he acts. Because he said he wasn't gay and he dated a girl for a little bit. And I'm like, well, of course he's not. He says he's not.
Yeah.
Well, he is. So there's actually two of them. The other one I didn't expect.
Yeah. Interesting. Fascinating little story to end on. Thank you. Thank
you
you
I
for that.
probably shouldn't be going into that whole. That has nothing to do with our topic.
No, not at all.
Right.
But thank you for that story anyway, I guess.
Yeah, it's a completely unrelated tangent.
Well, that's what usually happens. Fits right in.
Yes, par for the course.
Par for the course.